Hi everybody, welcome to week 6. I'm really looking forward to seeing your week 5 assignments and seeing what you came up with. All right, so let's look at this week. We've got 2 objectives. Analyze the current research findings and incorporate these findings into the development and evaluation of a nursing ed course. Determine criteria for assessing quality in nursing and patient ed courses. Okay, so let's look at quality in education. So I've been a dean of nursing and a CNO of a hospital, and looking at the quality of education was definitely a high priority. Okay, so I tend to think about quality in terms of 3 different pieces or components. Outcomes, processes, and satisfaction is kind of the way that I tend to look at quality. So outcomes tend to be the easiest to measure when you're looking at final outcomes. These would be things like NCLEX pass rates or new nurse retention at 1 year without disciplinary action. So those are things when we're looking at kind of endpoint outcomes. Processes can be a little harder to measure. If you look at the different ways that we can view online education, there's so many processes. So we can look at access and functionality, we can look at content compared to national standards, we can look at creativity and effectiveness of various assignments or teaching strategies, and then we can look at efficiency in the use of resources. So, I mean, there's just so many ways that you can approach processes when you're looking at quality. And then satisfaction, you can look at it from the perspective of the student, the teacher, future employers or end users, and people interacting with that particular student and what you expect them to be competent in. So there's also a variety of different agencies that can help us in assessing our quality, and your lecture for this week talked a little bit about some of those agencies. There's more than that, but they mentioned a few of them that can help whether you're in academia or in a clinical arena. So, and there's also a ton of assessment tools. If you just Google like online quality assessment tools, there's a whole bunch of different rubrics and different things like that that can help you assess your courses. So quality is a really broad area, and so you need to be looking at it from multiple different perspectives. Okay, you can't just take one narrow approach. So I'm looking forward to hearing about your perspectives on assessing quality and also the impact of various types of faculty in our second discussion question. So there's some different things to consider about the type of faculty that you use to teach in distance education. All right, so now on to assignments. You obviously don't have one due this week, but you've got 2 really big ones coming up, and I really want you to be very clear on the expectations of those and to do really well on them. So let's look at the week 7 assignment first. That's your personal class design project, part 2. Okay, so you're continuing on with what you started with, the course that you started with in seminar 1. Okay. So I found that my students have really the most problems starting with the objectives. If you get the objectives wrong, it can just lead to so many problems. So, okay, if you follow the ABCD method, and there is an attachment to the assignment to just remind you of that ABCD method, and hopefully you got some feedback from your previous instructor about your objectives, but if you truly follow the ABCD method, this will allow your teaching and your evaluation methods to all hang together and be tied together and all focus on the same areas. So an example of an education objective might be, the student nurse will be able to correctly prioritize the nursing care needs of patients with acute cardiac symptoms by correctly identifying the top 3 care needs in several patient care scenarios with 90% accuracy. Okay, so from that objective, you can see that your content is really going to be focused on the care needs of patients with acute cardiac symptoms, and then prioritizing their care needs, and also that you will be using case scenarios to determine student competency. So all of those pieces all tie together, okay? And if the objective is not well written, you can really get off track as far as what content you include or how you choose your evaluation method. It all flows from writing that initial objective correctly and in a focused, tight manner, okay? The other piece that I found that students struggle with on this assignment is the rationale for their instruction and evaluation methods, okay? So why are you using a PowerPoint presentation as opposed to a YouTube video? Why did you use case studies as opposed to a multiple choice exam? Okay, why did you choose? What are the benefits? Those sorts of things. And those are things that educators truly need to think about all of the time. How do I choose those things? And it all ties back to the objectives as your jumping off point, okay? So your paper, it will be a narrative paper, but you'll also submit the attached lesson plan. That's an attachment to the assignment, which provides the overview and the time frames, okay? So your body of your paper is narrative, and then you have to attach as many of those lesson plan documents as you need to. It's basically kind of an overview in a nutshell, and then it shows the time frames. Oh, and finally, you'll need to include at least 2 nursing domains in your teaching, right? You need to cover at least 2. So hopefully this is more of a refining assignment and not an overhaul assignment, but I don't know how well you did in Seminar 1, so good luck. And this assignment really is very much like real life. When you're designing effective education, you have tight objectives. You have tight content. Your evaluation methods are appropriately chosen. So, and you do need to have lesson plans, definitely, especially when you're first starting out, to keep you on track and using your time effectively. So I do like this assignment. All right, a brief word about the Week 8 CLC assignment. So this is truly a written paper assignment, despite one little note in the rubric that might say otherwise. It truly is a paper, okay? So you're going to answer all of those questions in the assignment directions, okay, for your paper. So you're actually going through a very similar process as a group to what you're doing in your Week 7 individual paper, okay? Just kind of doing it as a group. Who are you talking to? What are your objectives? How are you going to evaluate? Okay. The actual case study part. The patient is a 62-year-old male who was in a motor vehicle accident. The actual case study part can be included as an attachment if you're having problems staying within your word count for the body of your paper. Okay. So you can either include it in your body if you're not having a problem with the word count, or you can include it as attachment. I don't really care. There's a lot of information that you could include in your body just by answering those questions on the directions. Either way is fine, but I just want to let you know that's an option. So yes, you are creating an actual case study, 65-year-old man in a motor vehicle accident, but you're also telling me all about this scenario that you're teaching within your audience, your objectives, that sort of thing. I hope that makes sense. Please let me know if it doesn't. Please let me know if you have questions. So this week is definitely a working week. I would really try to pin down your CLC, what your topic is, who's going to do what. So people can be starting to work on that, because it's kind of a big project too. And then really carefully looking at your prior class that you developed in Seminar 1, really picking apart what you need to do, finding those resources. If you have questions along the way, please let me know. I'm here to help. No, I will not review a draft of your paper or anything like that, but specific questions I would be very happy to answer. And I hope I'm finally getting over this respiratory stuff. I started on antibiotics yesterday for a sinus infection, so hopefully we're on the right path. Okay, everybody, well, I'm starting to get into the holiday spirit and looking forward to Advent and Christmas, and I hope that you're starting to think about some of those fun things to do with family and friends, besides just schoolwork. All right, guys, I'll see you in the main forum.